Hello and welcome to the European Resilience Initiative Center video podcast. Pavel Durov, an eccentric Russian businessman and the founder of Telegram message app, was detained in Paris recently after his private jet has landed at the Paris airport. Telegram is an extremely popular social network. Especially in Russia and in Ukraine, military officers, state authorities, and civilians use it extensively to exchange also sensible information. Some praise Telegram's technical features, but many experts point out its links to the Russian intelligence services, in particular FSB. Durov is being even called a head of Russia's army communication by some Russia's military bloggers. To understand what is Telegram and what other online platforms are being used by Russia to spread information and disinformation and propaganda and tap to your communication, we have decided to talk to Sayyara Mammadova from the Atlantic Council. Sayyara is a journalist and an open source research associate at the Atlantic Council's Digital Research Forensic Lab, and she focuses on the South Caucasus and Eastern Europe. Her expertise lies in disinformation trends and malign influence operations. This interview was recorded before Pavel Durov's arrest and was prepared by Adrian Mendoza-Strilchuk from the European Resilience Initiative Center. Hello, Ms. Mammadova, and welcome to our podcast. Before we go to the questions, don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe to this channel so you will never miss interviews like this. My first question is on Telegram and other digital channels used by Russia. What kind of tools does Russia use to spread its disinformation?
Thank you for the question. So, as you said, we know that Kremlin uses different methods and platforms to spread its narratives to different audiences, and it includes domestic and international audiences. So, domestically, we are talking about very restrictive media ecosystem where Kremlin has the control over the media in the country, and only state-aligned or state-controlled media remaining in the country where their employees should follow the orders from the Kremlin. And many Western media outlets left the country or they are not accessible in Russia. And in addition to this environment, after the invasion of Ukraine, Russia blocked Western social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter. And research that was conducted during this period revealed that Telegram's popularity significantly increased after the invasion and after this blocking of these platforms. For example, Forbes documented how Telegram benefited most from this blocking move and how in just 7 months during in 2022, Telegram's popularity has increased by 66% in Russia. Also, another report from the last year that we have also used for our report about Telegram at DFRLab from TG Stat. This report also indicated that in 2023, 75 million users use Telegram in Russia on monthly basis. And the numbers are huge for the Telegram, and this is the domestic usage of Telegram that it has been used to justify the invasion of Ukraine, and it has used to spread the narratives about Ukraine or West. But when it comes to Telegram's usage by Kremlin abroad, we have seen that Telegram was repurposed by Kremlin. What I mean by saying repurposed is to indicate that, for instance, after the reinvasion of Ukraine in 2022, Russia authorities blocked access to hundreds of Ukrainian websites in occupied territory. And in parallel to this, we have seen that many new pro-Kremlin channels are just appeared on Telegram, which was claiming to be local media outlets in the occupied territories. And the question that why Telegram, of course, is the Telegram, if we ask, is the Telegram only platform that Kremlin use for these purposes? The answer is no. But if we're asking that, is Telegram one of the most popular platforms for these purposes? The answer is yes, because To understand it, we should look at the Telegram and its design as a platform, but also its moderation policies. So when we are talking about Telegram, I should emphasize that this is more than a messaging platform. This is a platform that in many countries people are using for news consumption. It's a platform that enable multi-user groups that can have up to 200k members and one-way channels with unlimited subscribers and with anonymous admins of these channels, which we don't know who is behind of those channels. So it makes easier to for the communities, not just Kremlin, but also for the communities that either banned or restricted on other platforms. Telegram was the great place for them to spread their narratives or create their communities on Telegram.
We know that private military companies use Telegram for their means. Can you describe how they use Telegram, in particular for recruiting their soldiers?
Let me just give you brief information about this report that we have published. So its name is Another Battlefield, Battlefield Telegram as a Digital Front in Russia's War Against Ukraine. And with this report, we were trying to understand how Telegram has been used during the Russia's war in Ukraine, but also we have extensive research about the usage of Telegram before the invasion of Ukraine, and also we wanted to understand Telegram ecosystem in Russia and Telegram usage, but by different communities, like you said, PMCs, pro-Russian hackers community, Russian military bloggers, but also we were trying to understand how Kremlin-controlled or state-owned media reference or cite Telegram channels on their reports. That was also one of the questions of this research. So when it comes to these communities, military bloggers, PMCs, and Russian hackers, we have scraped the channels that are affiliated with these three communities, and we were trying to understand what they share on the Telegram and how they are part of this Telegram ecosystem in Russia. So when it comes to PMCs, we have applied a methodology of the BEAR topic, which helped us to identify what topics in which context they were sharing to their audience. And for the PMC, private military, Russian private military companies and the other groups, we have identified that mainly they were using Telegram for three purposes. It's fundraising, it's recruiting, and information sharing. And for doing that, we have analyzed channels that are affiliated with Wagner Group, with Task Force Russia, with Union of Donbass Volunteers, and relatively newly created Rodina. And when we analyzed the data, we have found that for the fundraising, they were using traditional and non-traditional ways to raise money. And when we analyzed this data, we have found that they were also using cryptocurrency addresses to raise money, probably avoid the sanctions. Also, they were sharing the account numbers, bank account numbers, which are based in Russia, Russian bank accounts, and they would usually post what are the needs for them to buy, like the list of the supplies, medical supplies or other supplies, and they would share the pictures of the things that they allegedly bought with this money to share with their audience to encourage them to continue to support them. And for the cryptocurrencies, we have found that mostly Bitcoin, Ethereum was the most popular wallet addresses that they were sharing. Also, in some instances, we found that they were also promoting military blogger channel Riber's post about fundraising via cryptocurrencies or other ways. And we also, in some instances, found that some posts were deleted after this post, but we were able to find the archival data to see what they are sharing in terms of fundraising. So this is about fundraising. So when it comes to recruiting, for the recruiting, Wagner had another channel dedicated to recruiting. So what they were doing, they're using emotional language or patriotic language to call people to join them, to call fighters to join their battalions, and they are referencing to, you know, to different things in their post to encourage people to join them, and also they were promoting each other's. The channels were promoting each other's. But what we found about Wagner is that after Wagner's failed mutiny last year, I think it was about 30 channels were closed on the Telegram.
We see that many Telegram channels rapidly grow on the number of their audience, providing the audience obviously with information the audience is looking for. How do they function? What is the technical informational schemes behind that?
Yeah, so as I said, there are different reasons that would contribute to the increasement of these subscribers of these channels. But definitely promoting each other's help them to grow the audience. And whenever we analyze, it doesn't matter if it's PMC community or if it's a Telegram network, a disinformation network that is targeting international audience in different countries, they usually promote each other. And also, when it comes to targeting international audiences, we have documented in several reports that Russian official channels like embassies, like cultural houses, are also forwarding, or they are forwarding from Russian official channels. They're promoting each other's. They promote these news channels as truthful or reliable source to the audience, that they usually claims that you will find information that Western media outlets or mainstream doesn't tell you, and you will find true and reliable information about what is really happening in Ukraine. And so this forwarding and quoting or resharing each other's help them to grow the audience. But also I think there is another interesting finding from our research that the media outlets are increasingly citing Telegram as a source of their information. So to understand it, in one chapter, we explored how 10 pro-Kremlin or Kremlin-controlled media outlets in Russia, but also for having comparable results, we have analyzed 3 independent Russian media outlets, and the question was to understand how frequently they cite Telegram channels in their reports. And the results are unbelievable. I will give you some numbers. So we have analyzed 3 years data, which was limited to 3 months. And this 3 months was June and August, 1st June and 31 August of the 2021, 2022, and 2023. And when we analyzed the articles, we scraped those articles from these 3 months for these 3 years. And in total, we had more than 60,000 links to Telegram channels from more than 200,000 media articles. And what we found is in 2021, we found that there is 626 citations of the Telegram. And in 2023, this just jumped to 33,300, which means it has increased, citation to Telegram has increased more than 400%, actually 481%. And they were using Telegram, they were citing Telegram on their reports. So I think if media outlets in the country, Kremlin-controlled media outlets, are promoting or citing these Telegram channels, which are, propagandist channels, or Russian politicians' channels, or there are some channels created by individuals, like different propagandist Russian journalists, and when they are promoting or citing these channels on their reports, it's obvious that these channels will have more visibility in public to receive or consume information. Also, the overall Telegram's popularity also increased not just in Russia or domestically, but also we have seen that Telegram's popularity increased in some different places as well. And I think there is a link between trust in the media, because each year in last few years we see that trust in the media is decreased in some places, and because of that people are choosing more alternative places to consume information. And in some countries Telegram is, and in Russia it's go-to platform for consuming the information, and that also impacts Telegram's popularity in some countries.
We know that the Western government tried to go after some Telegram channels and crack down them. How does it impact the overall environment on the Telegram, the whole ecosystem?
So, first, let me give you the context. On Telegram, when we analyzed the channels, we have found that almost half of the Telegram channels are anonymous. Administrators are unknown. And in Russia, there were some crackdown which they were trying to de-anonymize Telegram users, including their administrators, and there were used a platform software reportedly which was examining open source data on social media, on government services or other platforms, to identify the personal identifiers to understand who is behind of these channels. And there were several cases that administrators were jailed, or they were forced to close their Telegram channels, or in some cases there were reports that these channels before were criticizing Russia, but after that these channels were managed by other people after this crackdown, who were sharing state-aligned information, propaganda, or disinformation. And whenever, of course, there is a crackdown, or the channels are decreasing in terms of the channels that either are independent or either criticizing the government, of course we see that there are a lot of new channels are just popping up, and sometimes they close one channel, sometimes they even create the second channel with very identical username or handles, for just in case if something happens to the other channel. But I'm talking about the propaganda and disinformation channels, and we have seen this trend in different countries, that they were targeting Europe countries, Western countries. But despite this fact, we found that when we analyzed the channels, Telegram channels, Russian channels, we have found that despite this crackdown, Meduza, independent news outlets channel, were ranked in 17th in terms of subscribers. Also, we we found that there are other channels like, the Western news outlets are creating their own Telegram channels to inform people about fact-based information, because there is an ongoing restriction in Russia, and as I said, many Western outlets are not accessible in Russia, in the country. But Telegram is creating also. They used this independent media outlets use Telegram as an opportunity to reach out this audience with fact-based information.
Based on the experience of your research, what is the Telegram influence on the global informational ecosystem, not only in Russia, Ukraine, or Central Europe?
So when it comes to security, I think there is a good case that maybe I can mention. So we have recently analyzed how Kremlin-linked Telegram channels seed anti-Ukraine and anti-West narratives in Bulgaria. And it's not always the same in each country, because it really depends on the context and country that these disinformation channels are targeting. But in some countries, you see that Telegram can be used to mobilize people offline. So it's not just about sharing information or sharing disinformation about war in Ukraine to the Western audiences. So there are different ways that they are doing this. For instance, sometimes you see that they target Western support to Ukraine, and sometimes you see that there are some disinformation narratives about the sanctions. You see that sometimes they not just undermine Ukraine, but they also undermine the democracy, Western values, and the other Western countries. And in some countries, you see that they are sharing false narratives about domestic policies. And in Bulgaria research, we have found that the channels were sharing very same or similar narratives that previously were shared Russian official channels like embassies. And you would see that how much they are forwarding or resharing their post on the Telegram to Bulgarian audience. And they were also sharing information like calling people to mobilize and act to change the policy of the country in terms of their stance towards the war in Ukraine, or to be neutral about the war in Ukraine. So Telegram can not be used just information shape, but this can also can be used and can have some offline things that are previously were discussed or coordinated on Telegram channels, like pro-Kremlin activist groups. As I said, they were just discussing, and then they were targeting these infrastructures in different countries. So in terms of security, I think we should really give attention to Telegram because Telegram has different policies than other social media platforms. You can see that compromise channels, for instance, are live for months and months, sharing private information of people to, silence civil society in some countries. Or you see that some channels are continuously spreading disinformation, like Kremlin channels, pro-Kremlin channels, disinformation about war in Ukraine, and yet you see that these channels are still continue to do that, and there is no any measures have been taken.
Are there any legal measures which the governments can implement to limit or eliminate negative impact of such tools like Telegram, but not only, also of other channels which can appear in the future?
I think it doesn't have only one answer. So as a researchers, we should continue to monitor, to expose, to explain to people what are the influence operations, how these are conducted, who are behind, who are the actors are organizing this, and we should always promote fact-based information about what's really happening, and we should report what is in the public interest. But also there should be, I think, when you see that sometimes you see that in some countries when media literacy is much more lower, there is more likely that people will believe disinformation or non-fact-based information. So I think for doing this, it's not our work. Of course, we are doing capacity building efforts for the journalists, for civil society through our Digital Sherlock's program. But by the way, it's free and online. So for your audience, if they want to learn how to combat disinformation and how to use these tools, and also to understand what are the influence operations and what is disinformation, how this can target people, they can join our Digital Sherlock's program. But also, I think, the governments, NGOs, they should also support and they should make some awareness programs to raise awareness among public about how to safely consume information, and also thinking critically when you read information that has no source or has no fact, or there is no evidence that they are saying, but there are a lot of claims that are false, or they are using facts in a misleading way to mislead people, mislead public. So I think it's important to continue these capacity building efforts, but also raising awareness among public. And in terms of platforms response, I think platforms should take responsibility what's happening on their platforms, and it is one of the main reasons on Telegram why there are a lot of disinformation channels, why there are a lot of other channels that are, as I said, in some countries, these channels are being used to silence opponents, silence journalists, silence civil societies. So I think platforms should take responsibility about what's happening on their platforms.
How can you see the role of Telegram in modern conflicts, like not only the Russo-Ukrainian war, but also the Israel-Hamas conflict, or popular uprisings in Venezuela and in other countries?
I think Telegram, by the way, we have my colleagues at DFRLab has covered for many times how Telegram has been used also in the other conflicts, like you mentioned, and it was also has been used before reinvasion of Ukraine during Second Karabakh War in Armenia and in Azerbaijan. The Telegram's popularity was increased in both countries, and I think because one of the reasons that Telegram is the a good platform for these people is because, or for the conflicts, let's say for the conflicts, because when they are sharing graphic footage, there is no restriction on that. So if you are navigating the war bloggers channel or the channels that are sharing updates from the war or from front, you will be likely exposed to a lot of graphic footage. And because in some other platforms there are some policies about that, and if you share, they blur it or they take it down. But on Telegram, it make it easier to share this kind of information without any blurring. Even they don't blur it, so that is why I said you will likely be exposed to these images. And I think in this context, also Telegram is very popular to sharing graphic footage. but also Telegram has been used in different conflicts for spreading hate or demoralizing the other side or targeting the other side, the public from the other side with disinformation, with false narratives, or creating maybe chaos in the other places. I use the chaos in terms of information, so using very false, alarming updates, like there is something happening, but actually it's not happening. So that is why I think Telegram will probably or likely stay a go-to platform in terms of conflicts because of these features, because it enables this.
Thank you, Ms. Mammadova, and thank you for your expertise and for your insights and your wisdom. To our audience, don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe to this channel so you will never miss interviews like this. Once again, it was an interview with Sayyara Mammadova, who works for the Atlantic Council Research Forensic Lab. She focuses on disinformation, spreading malign information. This interview was recorded before Pavel Durov's arrest and was prepared by Adrian Mendoza Strutuk from the European Resilience Initiative Center.